Hello and welcome back to this video. In this video we are going to be looking at the chmod command, which is primarily used for controlling access to files and the permissions around files and directories. So if we look at the current directory structure, let's go for that. You can see we have a couple of files, and what you'll notice that the first column of each file denotes the permissions to that file. As a directory, most directories are always started with the prefix by the letter D, followed by read, write, execute. And what you'll find is that these permissions are in groups of 3. So, for example, here you have a file, basic file. In basic file, it's got read and write for myself as the owner of the file, and the group that the file belongs to can also read and write the file, and just about any other account on this machine would have also read and write access to this file. So more, this file is for everyone across the entire system. But as you can see, that can be very dangerous. That can be security, or if you have essential system files with that level of permission. So what you'd want to do, you want to ensure that each file has the right access level for the intended purpose. So if we look at the first file, let's look at the basic file and see, what if we only want that file to be read by everyone except the owners of the file? So that means we'd modify the 3 groups. We remove the write permission from the 2 groups, and so this should be read and write, and this should be read and read only. Let's have a look at that. We would do that by chmod. And in order to understand this, you need to understand a little bit of the octal notation that is used to set the permissions for each group. You get 3 numbers. The first number denotes the owner of the file, the second number denotes the group, and the third would be for anyone else. And in this case, I'm downgrading the permission on the 2 latter portions of the permission group to reduce the scope. And if I go in for the file, so the target would be file. If I revisit that, see what we have, you can see now that was successfully done. Now the owner of the file can read and write for everyone else on this computer from their accounts. If they get into my account, they'll have full access to the file, but if from their account, their shared account, they would only be able to read the file. So that's kind of the basic idea behind having permissions divided in this particular way. There's an additional permission you need to be aware of. For example, here we have a file. Let's look what's inside of that. That's a script file. Within that, it has a bit of shell scripting, and if you wanted to run that file on its own, that file would need to have executable permission. If I show you how I would do that, chmod, still using the octal notation, script. So I've got some shortcut that I use for this, but let me do that manually so you can get the benefit of seeing that done. Chmod, and if we go, say I want the file to be executable by myself and no one else. 7 would be the maximum privilege on the file, seeing that the file uses octal notation. It starts from 0 to 7. So if we get 7 and say maybe 4, everyone else can read the file, but I'm the only one on the computer should be able to execute that file. And then it goes script, and let's see what that looks like. Now you can see the colors change because I've configured my terminal to display executable files with different colors. You can see that I have now X. So I've got read, write, execute, and for the second group, only read, and the third group, only read. So as just a recap, the first group, the owner of the file; the second group, the group that the file is associated with, the user group that the file is associated with; and the third group would be anyone else on the system. So that's sitting in JSON. Now I can, in fact, execute that file, and there you go, the file is executed. If I should remove the executable by taking it back down to 4.4, then we now try to execute that file. Permission denied. This file is not executable. So that's a way in which you could create a shell script to do specific tasks, carry out some operation, but only allow a specific user or a specific group to execute that. So that's great. That's an overly simplified introduction to how the permission systems on Linux and Unix-based systems work. However, as usual, you can always check the man page for further information. Give it a little read. This is quite an important part of what you do if you want to keep your system secure, keep all your passwords and your password files safe, and any additional files that you would not want anyone else get access to via the machine. Thanks again. That's chmod in a nutshell. Obviously, there's lots more to it. There are lots of different ways of changing permission in terms of notification, not notification, but notation. We have two main systems. We have the octal system and the symbolic system, which maybe I should demonstrate a little bit of the symbolic system before we jump on to the next item. So, for example, if we list the content again in long form, you can see that we have, for example, the script. Instead of going through and writing the entire octal notation, there's a shorthand which is called the symbolic system. I could go chmod plus execute to script, and if you look, you will now see that that is now executable again. I've had the executable property just to me. So it's a quick, short way of just getting that execute in to that group, that ownership group. So as soon as once you start using these tools, you'll see there are lots of shortcuts. But for this video, we try to keep it very simple, stick to the very basic, just to give you an overview for you to go off and do further exploration. Thanks again. I'll catch you in the next one.